Hello, this is Daniel Posney, and this is Shifting Perspectives. And today I want to share with you a topic about what is it about myself that I can change and I can't, that's a little bit harder to change. And this is not a black and white kind of a topic. There's so many gray areas and different perspectives on things. And I'll just share with you my perspective on how I've best try to understand what I'm working on, what's harder to work on, what's frustrating to work on, and what does me the most good, kind of thing. So there is the work that we do when we're on this journey of self-discovery, and not everybody's on this journey, and not everyone is supposed to be. But the journey is finding out about what triggers me, what pisses me off, what makes me sad, what makes me angry, and realize that those triggers are not really birthed or created in this now moment. They're not created in the adult phase of life. They're usually all created somewhere in our childhood between birth and 8 years old. So that's part of the work that I've been doing on myself and so many other people, is to kind of find out what triggered emotion behind, where does this come from, and then heal that and integrate that in my life. But deeper than that, there's more of a permanent aspect of myself that's really difficult to change. And I want to talk about that. So let's say that you're going through your life and you're just frustrated with the world and you're just trying to do the best you can. I'm talking about myself right now. And things just piss you off. So you stay away from those things, or you assert yourself and you position yourself. And that seems like the normal way of being, because this is who I am. I don't take shit from anyone. This is just my personality. Well, the personality is developed over time through conditioning, learned behaviors and beliefs, but that's really who you are. It's who you've developed yourself to be to kind of meet the world. And for you, or more specifically, your ego of mind, this is what helps make that ego of mine feel safe, or feel like it's asserted itself as a separate identity. There's a little bit of distinction between the egoic mind and the self, the awareness of self. So the egoic mind is kind of asserting itself out in the world to survive, to create its identity, to be different than all these 8 billion other people. But there's this awareness of the self, this awareness of the thoughts, the awareness of the emotions, who you really are. And that could be saved for a video, or you could look at my old videos. So I want to separate that out, because there are parts of myself, my personhood, that are very changeable, and they're related to that personality in the egoic mind. They're the ones that, if I didn't feel safe in my environment when I was a child, or if I didn't feel loved as a child, my mind would kind of assert itself and create this new personality or new version of itself to kind of get its needs met. And we got used to that. We started to identify with that new personality, and we believed that that's who we were. Those kind of things can be changed when you start looking deeper into yourself and say, oh, okay, I see where I created that pattern. Like for me, one of the patterns that I created was, let's see, let me go back there. I feel safe. So what I did is I kind of created a personality of don't mess with me. I'm kind of quiet, kind of crazy, so don't get too close kind of thing. And it was kind of like I saw a lot of Clint Eastwood movies, or Paul Newman, James Caan. All these guys were really popular at that time. And I sort of took on that persona, and it worked for me. It worked, as I was a smaller kid, I was a skinny kid. In fact, when I was a kid, my friend used to say, "You don't have a chest, you have a sunken chest." But that's how I was. When I was so skinny that I used to wear 2 shirts to hide my shoulder blades that used to stick out. So, I was a skinny kid. So I did certain personality traits that would kind of protect me in this way. You don't know what if I know martial arts or something. So I took that on for such a long time that I started to believe it. And I started to, identify more and more with it. But see, that kind of thing that's developed over time, that's what we call conditioning. And that kind of thing can be looked at and healed and integrated. Why would you want to do that? Well, the problem is that when you develop a personality, everything starts to be kind of constrained and limited in its scope. And you start needing to have everyone show up in a specific way so that you'll be happy. And it's not a very expansive or authentic way of being. So if you know inside of yourself, deep inside, that there's the conditioning that happens, some personality traits, some way of being that you've developed to protect yourself and assert yourself, it doesn't really feel authentic to your soul deep down inside. And when you don't feel really authentic that way, it causes problems in all different parts of your life. So yeah, you could go through your whole life and create this persona and the personality and be the way that you learn how to be, and you could die that way. But there's another way of being, and that way to me is just living more expressive, more authentic, more in love, and less in this conditioned fear-based mode. And there's all levels to this, what I'm talking about too. So that kind of thing that I'm talking about, that's the one that can be most changed in my mind, is that I can look at that behavior, I can see where it came from. There's this discovery that happens, and I'll go, what was I trying to get? What was I needing in my life? And how can I get those needs met now? And so there's this kind of what they call self-inquiry. And you start to kind of get these aha moments. And it really is like that. Wow. I see. Wow. And those are called little awakenings. So you have these little awakenings and you start to find yourself more and more. After a while of that, you start realizing that you're this new being, this new version, that you love yourself so much more than you did before. And you look at your old and you say, wow, I love that person too. It's just, I was living in a conditioned, more of a fear-based mode, and I just had certain ways of being that we were trying to get my needs met and that kind of thing. But now I realize that I can live without all that stuff. And just, it's a new way of being, and you get more and more used to that. And the little discoveries that you have aren't so huge anymore. And they're little ones you go, oh, wow, yeah, okay, that one came up again. Or like mine, like guilt would come up or obligation would come up. Like came up just the other day, little obligation. And I go, oh, yeah, I know that one. Yeah, but I'm not going to fall into it. And it's not going to run me. So you kind of get into, at least I kind of got into this place of being comfortable with that work. And then every once in a while, something would come up that was so deeply ingrained in me that it would come up, and it wasn't something really huge that it destroyed me, or it was just like, here's one. I'm very sensitive. I'm sensitive to energies of other people and myself. I'm not sensitive like I'm weak and I have to be protected. It's just that I'm sensitive and I'm aware of these things. And I can really pick up on emotions of other people. And I'm empathic. So, when there's something going on in the world or something that really touches my heart, and that can be the negative aspect or the positive aspect. So that's me being sensitive. And then sometimes I go, God, I wish I wasn't so sensitive. I wish I could just be, just get through this. But that's one of those aspects that doesn't really come from my conditioning. It's a part of my very nature, my soul. And the way I kind of think about it is certain planets were all aligned on the day that I was conceived and on the day that I was born. And all those planets had certain energies and frequencies with them, and I was lined up with that. And that's how I came out. And there's not much changing that. And so my frustration with being too sensitive, or maybe I get really passionate about something, like this will happen quite a bit. I'll get something in my heart and I'll want to speak it out with this passion, this needs to be heard. And, inside my mind, don't do it. Don't put yourself out there. But I do it. And then it's out there. And then maybe a big explosion of Facebook posts happen. And I go, oh, man, I did it again. But it's it's more that passion that's inside of me, that fire that's inside of me. And so there's this part of me that wants to be Zen and be peaceful and loving and all these things and be a really nice person and like have people see me as, oh, he's so peaceful. And then there's this other part of me that's really kind of gets angry and gets passionate. And I can't, you know, I can't fault either one. They're just part of who I am. I'm like the peaceful warrior and I'm the fucking warrior. And so it's just who I am. And the thing that I look at is those things that trigger me into negative emotions, those things that pop up that are related to my childhood, that are related to something that made me feel unloved or unworthy or insignificant and all those things. Did you really love that guy? Did you really love the character Daniel, all the way that he did his life, the way that he walked and talked and saw the world, and the fire inside of him and the sensitivity inside of him? And I want to make sure that I'm also coming from that perspective, that I'm in this sort of divine partnership with the character that was born, you know, physically on a certain day that lined up with these certain energies. And then it's in those energies that play into or aligned with what the soul wanted to experience. And that's not just rainbows and unicorns. It's all the shit that comes with it, all the darkness and the light of all that. And that's what the soul aligns with. That's my understanding, at least, that there's some kind of alignment that the inner workings of me, the character and my personality and my aspect of my very deepest nature are lined up with the planets. And those kind of things, my egoic mind wants to change because they're not nice enough or they're not powerful enough, but it's who I am lined up with that particular time and date or that particular alignment with the planets. So there are a lot of things that I can look at myself and want to change for the better. And then there's other things about me that my mind wants to change because I've got some disagreement with them. But those are the kind of things that I really want to embrace and say, wow, I don't really understand why there's so much fire and passion. I don't really understand why I'm lined up with or connected with indigenous cultures. I'm a white guy this time. How does this happen? I didn't have this experience when I was a kid. Why is it that I'm so protective of women? You know, why am I such a champion of women? I have no idea. But there's certain things that were lined up on that way. And, you know, there's this app that really helps me understand this. And it's called The Pattern. And if you look on Play Store, or probably, you know, I'm an Android user, and it's called The Pattern, and it's made for a Mac too. But you put in your birth date and all that stuff, and it's sort of like a horoscope, but with also like a human design kind of thing all together. And it goes really deep. And I'm reading this stuff about myself, and it's just nails it. Not specifically my day-to-day stuff, but they're really deeper inner workings of myself. And I read some of this stuff and I go, okay, I'm aware of this now. I have this certain tendency or this certain pattern. And then there's other things that I read that I go, that's how I am. That's how I am. And it's not a negative thing. It's just how I am. So there's a fine line in between spiritually bypassing this, that this is just who I am. You know, I'm just this asshole. You know, there is a fine line between things that you developed over time that were conditioned, and then there are things that are just part of who you are. But there's just some caution there about just letting it all go into some kind of a spiritual reason. So there are things that make you not such a nice person sometimes, and very hard to deal with. And there's some things that make you triggered. Those are the things that you can look at. And then there's other deeper aspects of you that make you a certain way. So it's just kind of, if you choose to accept this mission, it's your mission to do, and to self-inquiry, to do some discovery about where those things lie. And I don't know, for me, when I start looking at things, it's not so overwhelming. It's actually invigorating and expanding that, wow, I know more about myself. I know why I have these certain tendencies. And the more that I understand it in my head and in my heart, that I go, okay, then I love myself. And it's kind of like that, where you kind of realize that you love yourself with all the different tendencies. And then even the ones that you develop over time from conditioning and limiting beliefs and trauma and all those things can be worked on, healed, and integrated. So it's not really black and white, but there is some deeper discovery to be had. So that's all I got. Enjoy, have fun with your self-discovery. I love you, bless you, thank you.